Hey everybody, how's it going? Eric Goodmanson, Chris Kajani, we make the wine at Bouchain, and we know many of you are sheltering in place. Thank you. And thank you to all the amazing healthcare workers out there taking care of folks that are not doing too good right now. We have our doors closed, but the vineyard is wide open, and we figured we'd show you what was happening here today. If you have any questions, just feel free to holler. I think I can see them. And yeah, we're gonna walk you through Budbreak, show you what's going on. In fact, why don't we look at this? This is basically our estate, starting down there at the road and going out, not quite to the water that you see there. And those two terraces, your terraces wine, for those of you that are club members, etc. That's where that comes from. And look at these gorgeous clouds today. So pretty. So we figured we'd show you Budbreak and what's happening, and you can join us for a walk. All right, let's do it. So Eric noticed something while we were waiting to get started here. We had these little cluster Primordia already starting.
Yeah, here. Right here.
So
already.
If you look down here,
future cluster.
Tiny little future cluster. You can see that. So that's what we call a cluster Primordia.
They taste horrible right now.
Yeah, you don't eat the berries now. That'd be bad news. But what's going to happen in about a month is each of those tiny little, tiny little, sooner to be great berries will go through bloom, and so they'll turn into flowers, and the place is going to smell amazing. It's actually really, really cool.
Yeah.
So we'll get there sooner versus later, and be smelling like a spa. It's really kind of wild.
And this Budbreak really just happened within the past week. There's been some on the estate here in the past 2 weeks, but right here specifically, this really has just happened in the past week. We had a lot of warmer weather 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, and then it cooled down a little bit, and so things have slowed down a little bit, but not too bad. And so now they're kind of getting on a normal footing, normal sort of track speed. And some vines we'll see are further along than others, partially due to age. But up here, this is a Dijon clone that we use for our Rosé of Pinot, or Vin Gris.
Yeah.
This just happened. So welcome to our lovely new Budbreak.
Welcome to Budbreak. It's truly the beginning of the 2020 growing season. I mean, this is when it all starts. And so, you know, looking at all these tiny little shoots, you can see some are further along than others. So these guys here have just started. This is kind of like what we call almost a popcorn stage, where they're just starting to pop out. And then these guys, you can see some little leaves. Leaves get a little bit longer. And now we're like full on growing shoots. So that's what's basically going to be your rosé in 2020.
Rosé.
Yeah. And when did we bottle the 19? 2 weeks ago?
Probably 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. So we just bottled the 19, so that'll be coming out any second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wind died down for us. It's nice.
Oh, so let's see. Jen is asking, is it usual time for Budbreak early or late?
It's a little bit earlier. The past few
Like a
years,
week or so?
we've seen Budbreak kind of show up a little bit earlier, just due to some
Dry winter, warm
drier
weather. It was warm in February, no rain in February, and mid 70s even.
Yeah.
For a lot of
Yeah.
February. It was really nice. Today it's like, I don't know, it's like 50 degrees, so it's pretty out, but it's colder.
We didn't get one drop of water in February this year, I don't believe.
Right.
And that's the first time that's happened in many, many years. So we're probably a little bit before, but the past few years it seems to be coming earlier and earlier. Hopefully this wind isn't too loud for you guys.
Yeah,
I have important things to say, and everybody needs to hear them.
We're gonna go down the slope a little bit, down here, so we'll be a little more protected from the wind. Okay, hold on, I got another question. Have you seen an increase in animals in the vineyards over the last couple weeks with changes? But what did you say you saw in your driveway yesterday?
At home, which is 10 minutes from here, my wife saw a fox last night, which is pretty cool. We We typically see a lot of sort of jackrabbits around here. I have seen some coyotes recently, but down here in Carneros, we don't see a lot of wildlife. We do see a lot of birds, though. We see a lot of, especially right now, red-tailed hawks. And so we had a kind of a company lunch the other day from 6 feet apart, don't worry. And there was a lot of hawk activity up in the air, which was really fun to see. So that's the majority of our wildlife out here seems to be the birds right now. We did just see a jackrabbit.
We do get rabbits though too.
Yeah.
Lots of rabbits. Okay, hold on. Let me see the rest of this question. Oh, hold on. For those of you that know Annie live, can you see Annie out there? She's walking Lucy. Go, Annie. That's how we take breaks around here. Hold on. Second part of the question from Michelle. Changes in how people are traveling around the area. You know what's funny? We were talking about, Eric goes for runs all the time, and we'd gone out for a walk after dinner, and it's sort of like a community superhighway now. Everybody's walking. There's no cars at all, really. But everybody's out with their families. You know, anytime you pass each other on the sidewalk, one family gets in the street, stay 6 feet apart, maintaining that social distance. But lots and lots of neighborhood folks out, just getting some fresh air and some vitamin D. And in fact, I apologize for saying that it was cooler here at 50 degrees, because I know some of you are in snow, and that was pretty rude of me. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize for that.
Well, I'm cold.
This is the guy from Minnesota who's cold when it's 50.
I've gotten thin skin out here in my time in California. My parents would be ashamed to know that.
All right, let me try and flip this around because I want to show you guys. We're walking down this vineyard row here, and I don't know if you can see some of these flowers, but this is an organic soil builder cover crop, and so there's a bunch of really pretty bell beans and sweet pea. There's clover in here. There's a bunch of vetch grasses and oats, things that add good micronutrients to the soil. We also add a lot of compost, trying to keep these older vines healthy. These vines I think were planted in 96, and we want to give back to them. So again, lots of, oh, here's a good one.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a really pretty sweet pea. So, oh my gosh, and look at that rock. Oh, beautiful. For those of you who don't know, I have a pretty significant rock collection. And if we keep doing these live videos, I'd be happy to show you. But we're always hiking through the vineyard and finding obsidian, and we have a lot of really beautiful kind of orange and pink quartz in the vineyard. So a lot of volcanic runoff, volcanic rock from the Mayacamas Mountains that runs down to the bay. And, you know, it's part of our terroir. I don't know what other vineyards around here exactly have in their soil pits, but we like to think that all that fun volcanic rock adds some cool structure and a lot of nice flavor to the wine.
So this is where we switch into our Chardonnay Block here, and it's an easy shift to notice because we go from Cordon from our cane pruning, and so these are two separate ways of pruning a vine.
So there's Cordon, and I'm just going to move you over here. This basically shows cane. So these canes come off, and then each of these buds that you see will end up being a shoot. Versus over here, this is a spur that's on your cordon, and then on your spur you'll have a couple buds, and then each of those buds will be a shoot.
Yeah. What we typically do on our spur prune vineyards is, this is all permanent wood, this stays here, and this shoot was up here, you know, up until when we pruned it in end of January and February, really. So this was the shoot that came up in 2019 and had clusters on it. And then what we did when we pruned it, we came and clipped that off and left two buds. And so now from this one position here will have this chute, and then each chute will have up to and no more than 2 clusters. So
yeah, let me show you these clusters again. They're really cute. So if you guys can see this is a tiny little cluster here. This is a tiny little cluster here. Kind of hard to see, but that's what you call cluster Primordia, and that's going to turn into your wine.
yeah.
How cool is that?
And this block is our Block 4 Chardonnay, and this typically goes to the unoaked Chardonnay, just because of some of the muscat characteristics. It's got really high amounts of aromatics that really lend itself nicely to an unoaked Chardonnay, whereas if we put that in a lot of oak, those aromatics in particular might be kind of smashed, is an aggressive word for it, but it might be covered up by the oak, and so we leave that all in stainless steel. This particular block is what makes up the majority of that unoaked Chardonnay. It used to be called Chêne d'Argent, which we changed to unoaked Chardonnay, and so we're actually starting to blend that now. So we're looking at that, and we've got one other block of Chardonnay that we use purely in stainless steel, fermented and aged, quote unquote, in stainless steel, and so those 2 blocks will make up that unoaked Chardonnay this year. But this is a block that we every year look to, year after year, for specifically going to the unoaked Chardonnay, because it's got these really beautiful muscat characteristics.
Super honeyed and white flower.
It's really pretty, and so we try to capture that when we pick it. It's one of the things that we look for specifically from this block, which is really fun for us to use as a marker each vintage. Now that we've got 5 vintages under our belt here at Chute.
Right, so Eric makes a point. We both started here in 2015. My anniversary is April 5th in 2015. That's when I started, and Eric started in July of 15. So we did the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 vintage, and 20 will be our 6th vintage. And Michelle asked us, what are we most looking forward to harvesting this year? So I think maybe we're going to walk you into the next door block, which would be this guy over here, and that is the Swan block. So the Swan clone of Pinot Noir, for those of you that have tasted through some of our clonal series, that Swan clone's the one that's really light, super graceful. You describe it as like a ballet dancer, right?
Yeah.
Like strong, but full of grace, really pretty.
Yeah.
It's one of our favorites. It always has this like gorgeous freshness and real purity of fruit to it, while still maintaining just cool layers. What we call like a snap pea note, like a really fresh green note. That's really fun to work with. Pinot Noir can definitely go to the dark side. So something like our Primard clone is a lot of blue fruit, gets almost mocha-like as it ages. Really cool structure, lots of neat creaminess to the palate, thicker skin clone. But the Swan clone next door is the one that's like really, really pretty. So let me show you one more time. Walking through here, you can see the Budbreak here in Chardonnay. Little variable, which is not uncommon for an older block, right? So that guy's, whatever, an inch-ish long, 2 inches long. These guys are just starting.
Serpentine.
Oh, we found another cool rock.
Pretty green there.
So that's got some cool green notes to it. That's Serpentine.
Yeah.
And you can see some of the
I think this is Chute, maybe they call that.
red stuff.
I'm bad with rocks. Going back to looking forward to harvesting, Swan is always a really fun one for us because it doesn't necessarily behave the way you might think. And since it ends up being the lightest in color of our Pinots, it's got the lightest, sort of more graceful palate of all the Pinots. And so through that thinking, in my brain, I always think, oh, that would have been something that you pick earlier. When the sugar is lower, the acid is higher, the color color's not going to be as great, but for some reason, the Swan block, this block 3 over here, is about the last Pinot that comes in. It's still got the lightest color, it's still got some of the best acid, still got some of the best sort of aromatics and lightness and brightness and elegance, finesse, all these fun sort of pretty words, but it's the last thing that we bring in terms of Pinot, which is a bit odd. It seems a little off in my brain.
Kind of counterintuitive, but
totally counterintuitive,
2 + 2 = 7 in the vineyard sometimes.
Yeah. And so it's fun, but it never disappoints. You would think something that hangs out there longer is going to get real high sugar, thus really high alcohol, have maybe more intense jammy flavors is maybe a bit much, but it just seems like something that hangs out longer might lean towards more of like your bigger, darker fruits, but it still manages to be light and pretty and full of vibrancy. So that's you know, a perennial favorite in terms of a harvest.
Absolutely. Let's walk over that way. So again, just showing you Chardonnay. This is kind of the Budbreak we're looking at. We're not really worried about the unevenness right now. A lot of this catches up over time. What you do worry about is something that Eric mentioned. If this is our fruiting wire and it's approximately, 2.5 feet, 3 feet above the cordon, you definitely want these guys, your shoots, to get up to this, your fruiting wire. You need a certain amount of leaf area to really ripen all your clusters, and if you have short shoots, then you can't ripen. So take a look at this Budbreak, put that in your mind, and then we're going to show you Pinot, because Pinot's a little behind Chardonnay as far as the amount of growth out here right now, which is not unexpected, but something fun to take a look at since we're bringing the outdoors to you right now. So in the Swan block here, let me flip and we'll show you Budbreak here. Nothing. Tiny, tiny, tiny little bits here and there. That's kind of like a popcorn stage where the bud hasn't quite popped. But if you look here, you know, a little bit of action right there. But in general, looking down the row, looking down this row, not a lot of green yet. So this is just starting. You see, you can't hardly really see much of anything here yet, and certainly no cluster Primordia coming out. So we're just getting going, which is fine. But this is what we sort of do on a daily, weekly basis during the growing season. Just come out and look at different blocks, see how different clones are reacting to whatever Mother Nature gives us that year. Some of these will perform differently based on drought or excess of rain, a lot of heat, or if it's really cold. And so you basically do the same thing every year, but differently, depending on Mother Nature and what we're seeing. So what's your favorite vintage so far, Eric?
Oh man, 2016 I think was some of my favorite wines came out of 2016.
Yeah, agreed. I'm kind of digging the 19s too. We've just started, like Eric said, going through some of the aromatic whites. We bottled, what did we bottle? We bottled Van Gris, the 19 Van Gris. We did the Riesling.
Rosé Syrah.
Rosé Syrah. We have the Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc pretty ready to go. We've been tasting the unoaked Chardonnay through the block, from the block that we just showed you. Really pretty, super honeysuckle and flowery, really, really pretty in 2019. And then we got to get into going through all the Pinots individually. This is the time of year that you order your oak from France. They put them in these containers and they ship them over here all together. And I think due to some nervousness on the supply chain, everybody wants an order now. So we've been going through our oak from last year and just seeing what did we really like, what performed really well with our wine, what do we want to order some more of, and get that together so that folks will stop emailing us on a daily basis. Haha. All right, let me show you a little more Budbreak. So these guys are all about to get started. Coming along, coming along. Hey, little buddy.
This year also we have 14 acres that we replanted a few years ago that will have its sort of true first crop this year. We won't put a full crop on it because we still want the vines to focus a lot of their energy on the root structure and creating a more permanent structure that we see. But there will be some crop on that, and so we'll be able to see how the new Pinot Noir clones we have will react. The Mount Eden clone, we've got a bit more Swan, we have some more. And we've got Calera and some 828 Dijon. In addition to that, we've got a little bit of Gewürztraminer and Riesling for our white wines, and then even a little bit of Syrah that we've planted to see how that does out here. So that'll be another highlight of the 2020 vintage, I think.
Yeah, and that Syrah, we had worked with that clone from the Hyde Vineyard. As some of you know, Larry Hyde's my virtual boyfriend. I think he's fabulous. He's been growing out here in Carneros since the late 70s. So there's not too many people that know quite as much as Larry about the terroir and soil characteristics, and have seen as many vintages in this AVA. So we got a little bit of the Phelps clone of Syrah from Larry for the last few years, and then decided to go ahead and plant that ourselves. So we're psyched to see how it does in our estate. And that'll come on, we get a little bit this year, and then it will probably really start to come on in the next few years, but we're getting there. Let's see, Kathy. Oh, she's got a small place in the Russian River. All right. Yeah, it's interesting when you compare different AVAs and who bud breaks when and what bloom looks like where. All of this is very variable. It changes year to year based on Mother Nature. You know, heat, like we said in February, probably pushed us a week early. But quite frankly, if it's really cool in this next quarter, that can sort of slow you back down. So we're not picking harvest dates quite yet. We're going to see where this all ends up. But in the grand scheme of things, we're really excited. Here's another view of what's happening out here. Gosh, these clouds are gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really pretty out here.
And if you guys are all into this, we're probably about as bored as you are sometimes. There's not much happening right now aside from tasting wines in the cellar, and we can only do that so much. So anyway, if you want to hear more from us, shoot us some questions on our Facebook page or on Instagram. We're happy to use any and either and all social media to show you what's happening out here and connect. We really do appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for supporting Bouchain Wines. Thanks for being the best frickin' fans ever. We love you guys. And while we can't actually host you here right now, we can at least connect, show you what's happening, and kind of share a little vineyard walk. All right, bringing the outside inside to you. That's us signing off. We hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.